So, you want to master the thickest, the most adorable dragon lady in Yvonne. If that's the case, you're in the right place because today we will be going through Yvonne's best team, how her kit works, her best list of combos, and more tips and tricks regarding Yvonne that you may not have known. And yup, welcome to my complete Yvonne guide. Do use the timestamps if you're looking for something specific. And with that said, let's jump into it. To start us off with a summary, Yvonne is a single target cryo main DPS that has most of her damage source coming from her ultimate. She's able to consume cryo or nature infliction on her skill to apply solidification, from which she will gain extra ult energy based on the number of infliction stacks consumed. Her ult provides her with massive multiplier increase, crit rate, and crit damage buff, while also providing extra damage output by consuming any solidification state that is on the enemy. The ult itself is long range but isn't long enough to auto target jumpy enemies, so it is imperative that you only use your ult when you stagger the boss, or at least if you're sure the enemy won't be jumping around the map. From all that, we understand a few things with Yvonne. Firstly, she doesn't apply cryo or nature infliction herself at all, which means she relies on her team massively to apply those effects for her and for her to consume them for energy. Secondly, she mainly relies on applying and hitting solidified enemies to gain energy and to do more damage on her ult in general. That means the trick with Yvonne is to maximize the amount of solidification landed in order to gain ult energy as quick as possible to reach the 220 energy requirement for ult, and by doing so you can do the most damage with Yvonne. So far you see some similarities for Yvonne compared to Levitate. Both consumes various arts infliction for some way to gain ult energy or boost damage output. The definitive difference here is Yvonne doesn't have arts infliction herself, which proves to be a slight weakness for her. The final point of interest here is that she's much better at single target damage output considering her small skill range and single target ultimate. You can't expect her performance with endgame investments to still be strong enough to gain ult trimmings for bosses and clear any given endgame content. There are multiple teams and ways to make her work for different scenarios, and the most important factor is to maximize her ult damage and ult consistency in a long period of time without, well, missing them when the enemy's flying around or something. With a summary out the way, let's take a look at her entire kit now. Her basics and final strikes are all ranged, which actually makes it so easy to evade attacks or AoE dot effects on the battlefield compared to close range attacks. Her skill sees Yvonne throwing a grenade which explodes into small range. It consumes all arts infliction stacks if it hits an enemy with cryo or nature infliction. Once consumed, Yvonne applies solidification on the enemies and you'll do more damage based on the stacks of infliction consumed. Yvonne also gains additional ult energy based on stacks consumed too. Next up will actually be her first talent that allows you to use Yvonne's Final Strike right after applying solidification with her skill. This is a huge factor, especially when paired with her best ally in Xaihi, since Xaihi's combo is triggered after 2 Final Strikes from a controlled operator. Yvonne here can use her full basic for 1 Final Strike and use her skill, land solidification, instantly use another Final Strike without needing to use her basic right away based on the talent's effect. This will instantly trigger Xaihi's combo that applies cryo infliction, helping Yvonne gain the next solidification effect in. Speaking of combo, Yvonne's combo skill will also trigger when a controlled operator performs a Final Strike on an enemy with solidification. This means while you do her Final Strike after her skill, you will trigger this combo skill if the enemy is solidified, which most of the time is the case. The combo skill deploys a small area of damage with a small gather effect. Once it ends, the area explodes and the enemy's hit are forcefully applied with solidification. Yvonne also gains additional ult energy if this combo skill hits an enemy successfully, and you'll notice she has a lot of ways to gain ult energy, which is her main gimmick. Utilizing this combo skill and her own skill can open up perma-controlled teams as well for AoE mob situations. That is actually a godsend for daily exploration or dungeon farming, though you will need Gilberta, which aids in gathering enemies, since Yvonne's gather is actually quite weak that it barely feels like it's there. Next off, we see Yvonne's ultimate. This ult enhances Yvonne's basic and it lasts for 7 seconds. The first 2 seconds, Yvonne will shoot a good number of shots and each gain Yvonne crit rate buff stacks. You'll max it at 10 stacks by just doing the first 2 seconds of shots. Once you reach max crit rate stacks, you will also gain 60% crit damage buff, and you'll shoot for the final 5 seconds with the maximum damage output. If the enemy has solidification, you'll also consume it to do an additional attack, which just means more damage. The ult deals an incredible amount of damage over the full 7 seconds, but Yvonne is forced to stand in the same spot and you can evade, but that will eat into the ult duration, lowering your damage output the more you evade. This means you ideally want Yvonne to ult only when the boss is staggered or when you know the boss isn't moving much. The final part of her kit is with her second talent, which simply provides 20% or 40% crit damage shell increase against enemies with cryo infliction or solidification respectively. So yep, again, you want to put solidification on enemies and you want to shoot them with Yvonne. Next, let's go through her best builds and weapons. Her best set is the MI security set to gain very valuable crit rate and attack buff. You see, her ult is able to grant her a lot of crit rate, but not enough to guarantee the crit. And considering the amount of crit damage buff she also gets, being able to crit with Yvonne is crucial to maximize her damage. That basically means giving crit rate main stat on the kits of Yvonne, and a set that boosts crit rate will be ideal. You want to crit on her ult for sure. Next off, let's take a look at her weapons. Her own signature is obviously the best, with the wedge being the second. You can actually match her signature with a high dupe wedge as well. Other than that though, the Navigator and Opus the Living are your other alternatives, but they fall quite behind the top two, so I do recommend getting her own signature just to be done with it, or just using the wedge. For skill upgrades, you want to prioritize her ult, then her basic, then skill and combo. Now that you've gotten her build ready, let's just waste no time and jump into her team setups and combo list. Do follow along to learn her best combos yourself alongside me. Firstly, let's have an overview though of all of Yvonne's best partners. Do note that the key to playing Yvonne well will be to maximize the amount of cryo and nature inflictions from the team, and have Yvonne convert all of them into solidification. That's the key to playing her and get her out as quickly as possible. This is where we want to start with her best ally in Xaihi. Now Xaihi is a really accessible 5-star character, and she also provides arts amp onto her skill based on her own intellect. Her ult provides very rare cryo amp, and her combo provides cryo infliction too. Literally all of it is perfect for Yvonne, and it activates her fully. Next off will be Gilberta. As mentioned earlier already, her value is high with the gather on the skill in AoE situations. She also has consistent nature inflictions on her skill and ult, plus very high value susceptibility debuffs on her ult too that near fully covers Yvonne's ult duration. It's hard to replace Gilberta's value, especially with Yvonne, but there are options. Next off though will be Alesh. Alesh though is one of the best options currently, as he provides cryo infliction on the ultimate, quite the valuable SP recovery for the team because you are actually spending quite a lot of SPs, and well, he's also pretty accessible as a 5-star. The next interesting one will be Lashrite. Lashrite will take the spot of Alesh, and her skill actually allows her to inflict ice infliction on the final strike of the control operator. The issue is though, Lashrite's own damage output will also depend on the amount of cryo infliction that she can consume. So in a team with both Yvonne and Lashrite, yes, you can inflict ice infliction with Lashrite herself, but you'll have to sacrifice one or the other's damage output, since you will be both wanting to convert ice infliction for damage or for solidification. It's not exactly intuitive, but it does work anyway, considering Lashrite's ult still hits like a freight train. With high levels of investments and gameplay, she's actually a strong ally for Yvonne, but for the general public, it's not exactly your first go-to team. The next allies we'll take a look at are alternative options. Namely, we have Ardelia to replace Gilberta. This is obvious, Ardelia still has very valuable susceptibility debuff. The weakness here with Ardelia though is she does not apply any arts infliction, so she isn't able to help Yvonne convert inflictions quicker, therefore slower ult gain, therefore less damage in the long run, but it is still more than usable. Next we have Estella to replace Gilberta. She has a skill that can apply cryo infliction and a similar lift application like Gilberta has too on her combo and ultimate that allows her to apply shatter by consuming solidification after applying lift to a solidified enemy, which does deal good damage, and it's actually viable to use this idea to constantly shatter enemies to keep them lifted as well while Yvonne attacks away. The issue though is Estella also consumes solidification by applying the lift effect to it, shattering the solidification. That will prevent Yvonne from being able to attack solidified enemies for more damage. It's not a deal breaker, Yvonne still does a lot of damage, but it's not exactly a perfect team, right? For the next character, we have Fluorite to replace Alesh. Fluorite has consistent cryo or nature inflictions, allowing quick ult energy gain for Yvonne. The difference is Alesh can provide high SP regen, which technically also aids Yvonne's ult gain overall since you can do more skills quicker. But Fluorite being able to have simple nature or cryo inflictions is pretty valuable to just get the ult of Yvonne quicker. Next option for allies will be Snowshine to replace Alesh. She will be the safest option for survival with her healing, and her skill grants protection and applies cryo infliction too. Not to mention her ult also applies solidification instantly for Yvonne to maximize her abilities, so it's overall a solid choice. Her issue though is you have to parry an enemy attack with her shield on the skill to get the cryo infliction. Sometimes you might not get that off and you're forced to wait until you do because you're missing an infliction, and obviously if you miss the timing on her skill, it'll slow the whole rotation down further, but overall it is still the safest team with good survivability. With all her best allies out the way, let's dive deep into the combo list of her general best team. Do follow along if you want to pick this up. Her best team will be Yvonne, Xaihi, Alesh, and and Gilberta. You want to start with Xaihi's skill and Gilberta's skill. As mentioned in some of my other videos, you can use Xaihi's skill first before triggering fights, and you'll actually gain the SP back quicker. It's not too important though in the grand scheme of things. After Gilberta's skill ends, it will apply 1 stack of Nature Infliction. At the same time, Yvonne will be spamming her basics into Final Strike. Then you want to use her skill, which consumes the Nature Infliction into Solidification, and based on Yvonne's talent, you can immediately use her Final Strike right after her skill. Go ahead and do that. This will trigger Xaihi's skill's buff effect if you're at full health, and more importantly, it triggers everyone's combo. Use Alesh's ult first for 1 Cryo Infliction if available, then use everyone's combo. Xaihi's combo will apply the second Cryo Infliction. Here you actually want to complete Yvonne's full basic sequence once, and the reason for that is it'll regenerate some SP for you because you are using a lot, and secondly, you are trying to give some time for the cooldown for your other characters to be done. This will be important later. After that, use Xaihi's skill again. Do Yvonne's skill into Final Strike, then spam basics for another Final Strike, which will trigger Xaihi's combo for 1 Cryo Infliction. Do Yvonne's skill into Final Strike, and right here, do take note of the combo cooldown of Gilberta. You can see via the bar right here below her icon. Before you use Yvonne's skill, you want to make sure the combo is off cooldown so you can activate Gilberta's, and by activating Gilberta's, you'll also activate Alesh's, and it's actually important to keep that system going so you have sufficient SP regeneration from Alesh, and all the cooldowns are still somewhat manageable, and it doesn't get too confusing. By doing everything well, you should have activated everyone's combo right here. Go ahead and use them. And after that, use Xaihi's ult, then Yvonne's ult. Wait for Yvonne to do a spin here, and then use Gilberta's ult. This timing is crucial since Yvonne reaches max stacks of buffs with the 2 seconds that she attacks at the start. The spin means she reached max stacks, and Gilberta's ult will last for the full rest of her ult duration, where Yvonne also has the most buff possible. This is when you want to shoot your heart out after all of those buffs for some good damage. Then repeat the whole thing again. This list of combo aims to gain Cryo Infliction and have Yvonne convert them, trigger her combo skills to overall gain massive ult energy. You don't have to follow this combo list to a T, but you do have to keep in mind the goal here with Yvonne. You're trying to gain the 220 energy for Yvonne's ultimate, and you can expect to do that by converting a total of 4 total inflictions with 2 combo skills done by Yvonne and 2 battle skills used by Yvonne. This combo exactly achieves that, and it helps Yvonne gain the energy with no issue. Now this is a combo against say Rodan where you can actually come into the fight with full energy, like Alesh can start the combo early on with his energy maxed out already to inflict Cryo Infliction, but then in cases like an Umbral Monument where you don't get to start with max energy, your first rotation without Alesh's ultimate might take a bit longer, where you have to find a way to get 1 more infliction, turn it into solidification with Yvonne's skill. By doing so, you will only then reach maximum ult for Yvonne's ultimate. Even if you swap off Alesh, it's still kind of the same idea where you have to spend SPs anyway in order to get the Cryo Infliction in, and without Alesh's strong skill point regeneration, you might also still struggle with SP anyway. This is why in my opinion, Yvonne may get better teammates in the future that could improve her performance, but her performance right now is more than strong enough to be one of the best damage dealers, just definitely not the best of all time with some of her notable issues. Does that mean you cannot use her? Absolutely not. Go crazy with her. What is important though is to always remember the fight changes based on the scenario, and you may not always have the perfect setup, but as long as you understand the goal of getting Yvonne's ult as quickly as possible and understand a few mechanics that allow Yvonne to do so, like consuming inflictions of her skill, you'll be able to play her fine. With the most standard and best team out the way, let's take a look at alternative teams. Here are the few that I suggest. Firstly, it's Yvonne, Xaihi, Fluorite, and Gilberta. This is easy for nature inflictions with just Fluorite and Gilberta. Great for getting ult quick for Yvonne. I do recommend this team for the general public if you don't want to worry too much about skill timing and infliction timing. Although this team still has something like that, but it's much more simpler where you're just trying to slam a lot of nature inflictions from the get-go. But of course, there are some issues as well, like the higher SP usage, given you lost the SP regen from Alesh, but it's got its merits. Now for a run through of the combo list, you want to start with Xaihi's skill, and then Gilberta, and then Fluorite's skill as well. Just there you can see the higher SP usage already, which isn't really that big of a deal if you're fighting Rodan because you can use Xaihi's skill outside of combat, but things will change in Umbral Monument, which may need you to just spam some basics first until you get enough SPs. After that, you want to go with Fluorite's combo, then Fluorite's ultimate. What you've done now is you've applied 4 total nature inflictions, and at the same time, you want to spam basics into a final hit with Yvonne. Now that you have 4 nature inflictions, you want to convert them all with Yvonne's skill into a final hit right away. You'll gain massive energy that way. After doing so, you should unlock all combos. Go ahead and use all of them. All the combos will include Xaihi's infliction, so you want to go ahead and use Yvonne's skill into a final strike again to consume that infliction. Right after that, you can use your skill if you're still lacking like 1 energy, but if you're good, just ult in order. It'll be the same order. You You want to time that ult when Yvonne spins, then use Gilberta's ult. This team's way less punishing, and you can take your time. Just make sure you get 4 nature inflictions, convert them all at once, add Xaihi's cryo infliction right after, convert that with a combination of using combos. You should have enough energy for Yvonne and get her to use her ult without needing to have too much thought. And that's it. The next recommendation would be Yvonne, Xaihi, Alesh / Fluorite, and Estella. This will be for the immensely free-to-play players, and you gain a solid mix of cryo and nature infliction. As long as you can make sure to consume them only with Yvonne's skill, you'll get her out quickly. The weakness though is the lack of buffs, obviously, since they are cheaper characters after all, but it's a team that could work. The final recommended team I have for you to maybe try out is the Yvonne, Xaihi, Fluorite, Gilberta team, which is the hardest to play well but has solid performance with high skill ceiling. You'll be mainly utilizing ice inflictions out of everyone in the squad, while utilizing Yvonne's ability to turn them into solidification, gain the ultimate, have Xaihi and Gilberta get buffs and debuffs online, while Fluorite plus Yvonne will both have strong ults that still nukes for a lot of damage. I'll be making a dedicated showcase for this team, so do follow the channel and check it out when it's posted, yo. But yeah, it's a team with high skill ceiling for sure. I do recommend it if you have everyone built at endgame level to investment, and if you would like to try something different. Finally, let's take a look at our potentials. The most valuable one will be the first and the fifth, with the first actually opening up quicker rotation since she gains energy quicker, but it doesn't provide you with any direct damage increase, so it's kind of a skill-based potential that can be great if played well and overall boost the damage output in the long run. The fifth potential is the highest value damage related one. You get more attack, more crit damage during the ult, very valuable for Yvonne's damage output. And with that, you're ready to nuke bosses and kick asses with Yvonne. For a quick conclusion, I think Yvonne is a strong damage dealer with a fair share of problems that can be solved with good skill timing and understanding on when to use her skills and ults. She's not better than the absolute best characters like Levitain, and she won't be nuking a boss faster than Fluorite, but she's unique in her own way of leveraging solidification as her main gimmick. She definitely has an edge at controlling enemies with all the solidification, and an Yvonne team is definitely better at doing so than any other team. I myself use it to clear dungeons a lot, and it's very fun and efficient. So I hope I helped you out. Good luck with your Yvonne pulls, and have fun trying to play her and build her, and take care.